It's the Friday Feels, and we're back with your first sip of the weekend. You're now tuned in to this week's episode of Your Happy Hour. I'm your host, Nicole Carmine, and it's amazing to have you here, joining me this week as we uncover the truths about being a human and a working professional. What are you up to this Friday? Well, whatever it is, this moment is just for you. Welcome back to episode 2 of season 3. We're back at it with another round of amazing conversations with wonderful humans, and we are unpacking the theme of repurposing purpose this month. So every month we unpack themes that are about being human and a working professional. And this episode I wanted to bring on a very special guest who shares my name. And it's really, really wonderful to have you here with us today, Nicole Serena-Silver. A very big welcome to Your Happy Hour and to the Feel Space.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's wonderful to have a Nicole Squared here on this podcast. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And gosh, Nicole, you do so many things. So I didn't really know where to start, but I know you're a business coach. You work with founders, you work with entrepreneurs. You've been an entrepreneur for a really long time. And I know you also have an amazing community called the Founder Circle that you work with. You're an author, you're a founder of a lot of things. You've been in Forbes, involved with that. But I feel like you can tell your journey much, much better than I can. So maybe you just want to give us a little bit of a rundown on how you got to being here today.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a multi-potentialite for sure. I'm very much a creative and I apply my creativity to business. But in terms of purpose, I have been focused on purpose for a long time. I mean, at least 15 years. I have a nonprofit as well that helps high school students find their purpose. I authored Vakita Full Potential, which is a career clarity guidebook. And I was writing for Forbes on the future of work, professional development, and entrepreneurship. And I've always been an entrepreneur, always. And I've been an entrepreneur. For me, it was a matter of freedom to truly be myself. And I think entrepreneurship is something that it has so many more facets to it than a lot of people imagine. And I'm kind of reinventing and showing people more choices when it comes to entrepreneurship, more than your typical standard way of approaching entrepreneurship. So that's entrepreneurship and professional development have been my main focuses, but there's many other things that I've done because I love to create, but that's kind of the gist of my main expertise and focuses.
Okay, amazing. Well, I feel like it's a really, really good fit for you to come and share on the podcast. We often attract people who are entrepreneurs or founders and in startup, and because, you know, we're all kind of in this transitionary period and reinventing all the time. So, but even if you're not, and you listening in and tuning in, I'm curious, Nicole, what does this theme mean to you? Like when we say repurposing purpose, I know you and I chatted a little bit beforehand and we were talking about mentioning that it's kind of the patterns we present ourselves throughout our lives and how we find purpose in that. So yeah, maybe just a little bit of what it means to you personally and your journey.
Well, so how I look at things, how we are as humans, it's like imagine a tree and imagine the roots of a tree is your core patterns, your fundamental patterns, the knee-jerk reactions that you have. And then the trunk is your different perspectives, the different things that happen throughout your life, and then the branches are all the different possibilities. So when I think of repurposing passion and repurposing like your direction or how all the different, like repurposing in general, right? I think that it touches every part of our lives when we repurpose, but I think that that applies to the different branches, the different possibilities. So taking that core pattern and that fundamental and looking at, okay, well, what is it right now that feels most aligned for this season of my life? And I think it's important to always look at that. I think we get stuck in and that we can go down the rabbit hole of I've invested so much time and energy and I feel like my expertise lies here, but it's not what makes you happy. So what is your purpose? Maybe that was your purpose for a period of time, but maybe it's time to repurpose your purpose and look at what is best. What is best right now for me? And it's never too late. And I think that one of the things that I hear all the time is the obstacle of, oh, but I've already done this, or oh, but that's going to take so long. And what I've seen happen is that you can apply your transferable skills into so many different ways, whether you're starting a business or transitioning careers or whatever that might be. And using those transitional skills, you can most likely transition pretty quickly to repurpose your purpose in a more meaningful way that will lead to a lifetime of happiness instead of getting stuck in this muck of like, oh, but I've already invested so much time and energy. Like, no, just go for it. Like life is too short. The one thing we don't get back is our time and energy. So invest it wisely.
I think so too. And you know, what's coming to mind for me is, well, firstly, it's really quite hard for, I think, a lot of people to do that. I think we are
Yeah.
society, maybe it's getting a lot easier now, but society kind of forces you to pick a direction and then stick with that. And now we're seeing people kind of flit in between jobs and directions a lot more. People are more like multi-diverse than they were before. And I think it's quite hard because you don't really know who you are beyond that thing that you now designed your life around. So how's that been for you, like going from one thing to another and the journey? Yeah, what has that been like?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's a great question. I think for me, it's easy. For others, sometimes to understand it, it's harder. Like my very first ever business. So I've always been an entrepreneur from day one. And when I graduated high school, I went into concert production and event production. And I have people from my past where I've evolved so much. I've done so much since then. But there's people from my past, like one of my dear, dear friends who passed away last year, and mentors and angels in my life, Dwayne Wiggins, who was one of the founding members of Tony. Every time I'd see him, he'd always be like, so what are we producing? Like, let's work together. I'm like, Dwayne, I'm not doing that anymore, man. That's been like 25 years that's passed. So sometimes for me, I'm living in it and it's easy for me to shift because that's part of who I am. But for others, they have a hard time wrapping their minds around it. So how do we move people into understanding that we're shifting because we're all interconnected? And so helping people understand the different parts of ourselves, I think, is an important piece. But there's also, you touched on the identity side of things and how there's definitely certain people that identify in what it is that they've created throughout their lives. So how do you start chipping away and shifting that into something different? And it is brave and it isn't easy, but it's worth it. That you got to stick to the why is what I would say. Why do you want to do this? And get really firm on why you want to be transitioning. And that why can help guide you even in those times of like uncomfort, because it will be uncomfortable and it will be hard to transition. That's part of it, but that's part of the initiation and part of the needed piece. Anything that is easy doesn't allow for you to grow, right? It's the hard times, it's the difficult times that allow for us to grow.
That's so true. And yeah, I think it's really the fear of discomfort that holds us back from shifting. And it's the same with relationships, right? I mean, we're always encouraged to, if something's not working in a relationship, keep dating, find what works for you and change. But I know a lot of people also stay in relationships that don't necessarily answer the why in that moment anymore. And that's really difficult to walk away from as well. So I know you've always been this. I mean, I always ask people like 10 years ago, did you know you'd be here? But I feel like this question is like redundant for you. But how did you decide to be an entrepreneur? Like when you started, I mean, was that just something that you knew you wanted to do? And what was that journey like? Do you feel like there
Yeah.
were certain challenges that you had to overcome?
Yeah, I mean, like many of us, I fell into it in many ways. And there was a lot of uncertainty. And I think that a lot of people, almost everybody experiences this of, oh my God, who am I and what am I doing? And that's part of why, I mean, it's a huge part of why I created the nonprofit for high school students and why I wrote the book as well, is to give people the tools, because we were never given the tools of like, who are we and what do we want to do? So even though I can look back and I can see the patterns now that I'm super clear on what my path is, but being younger, the anxiety that I felt, the questions of like, well, who am I and what I want to do, just was nerve-wracking. So yeah, like I followed the patterns and I listened to myself and I said yes when there were times to say yes, but not everybody has that wonderful way of being able to flow into it. Sometimes we flow in different ways. And I also want to say here that everything that we do, it all matters. So even if you feel like you've been on the wrong path, it still is important. Sometimes you have no idea how or why it matters, but it does. Like Steve Jobs, he took a calligraphy class, and it's not like he was going to go in and be an artist, but that's what changed fonts, right? So we can't connect necessarily the dots looking forward, but looking backwards. So for example, because I really want to emphasize to your listeners that there's no wrong. You haven't done anything wrong in your path, right? Because I know lots of people sometimes feel that like, oh my God, I wish that I would have X, Y, Z. No, it's wonderful. It's the patchwork that made you who you are. You're exactly where you need to be. You've been doing exactly what you needed to do. And sometimes you don't know why until years later, maybe decades later, right?
Yeah.
So my latest thing right now, what I'm creating is a networking app that helps people create meaningful relationships. And I'm finding what we found in our user interviews is that the best placement is in conferences. So here comes my past of events pairing with like the my psychology background of like understanding who you are and how to make connections, right? With my business background. It's like all these different parts of myself are merging right now. And I would have never in a million years expected it, nor did I plan it. It's just that this is what surfaced. So I use my own story as an example of like, well, you just never know how things will come together. And to be more direct in answering your question, no, I didn't know what I wanted to do. It took me a while to figure it out. And once I started doing the work of looking at who I was and what I wanted to do to develop this for other people, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm kind of here. This is who I am. And I am doing what it is I want to do. And to have that understanding that, yeah, I'm on my path. This is it. Like, it's like a breath of fresh air. Like, yeah, that's me. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. I am doing it. And it just feels so good.
Oh, I love that so much. And I'm so grateful that you trusted that, because I think a lot of the process is around trusting yourself, like when you get those nudges, you get those ideas, or you do the work internally. It's a lot about trusting what you want and who you are, and building that safe space within yourself to say like, I got this. Like, even if nobody else understands, it's okay because I'm in my path, So I think that takes a lot of courage. So thank you for doing your work in the world and sharing that. And we definitely have to chat. I know we were saying we need to connect on lots of things, but we're also building a bit of a platform with the fields around making life easier for connection and life work and being able to travel and work around the world a lot better. So we should definitely chat about that offline sometime. But I think it's incredible when you do the work internally, which I know is the hard part. I think that's the part that we all kind of avoid and resist most of the time, to be able to go into our flow. And then it's okay if life changes because you're solid in yourself, And so I am curious, like, how do you find, what do the kids say? And I know the program that you're doing, what is it that they come to you with and say, like, this is what I'm struggling with, or that I feel resistance towards?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece is having a space of accountability and doing it with a group of people. Even with my guidebook, I say do it with a friend. If you don't have a group that you can do it with a friend. In the nonprofit, it's actually a curriculum that we develop that's introspective and interactive that teachers deliver in their classrooms. So it's a whole class that students go through. which creates that accountability, which creates that stability where they have to go through all the different steps to unsurface who they are. It's interesting as humans how we have such a hard time doing things for ourselves. And knowing that it's like, how do we build in the systems to support ourselves, right? And usually that means accountability through others and hacking ourselves to be able to go through and really surface those parts of our patterns, which once we have them, they're like jewels that we can keep with us forever. It helps with, if you understand all the intricate parts of who you are, then you can take those and be much more agile as life is shifting, as we see in the world right now, and things are shifting, that we need to be agile. And so it gives us that ability because we can take those gifts and be like, okay, I can move over here and I can apply it over here. So it's incredibly important to create those systems of support.
Yeah, I believe that's really important too. And I realized, I've also kind of been on the little bit of entrepreneur journey, but mostly solopreneuring it until recently. It's starting to create more of a team and having that support structure, being able to work with people, having co-founders that are really incredible to work with. I think no man is an island. We try to often do things so much by ourselves, and it's also a consequence of upbringing, culture, lots of different things, your own personality, things that you have to go through. I know I often struggle with that, like having to let go and delegate and say, please help me. But once you do, I feel like accountability is kind of natural in those communities and teams because everyone's working towards the same why with the same passion. And then things just flow, but you have to open yourself up to that. So
Absolutely. Well, and for solo entrepreneurs, which I've been the majority of my life, I have a co-founder right now, but it it is wonderful to have team and to be able to build a team. For those that don't have the team, one way that I've gone about it in the past is creating a personal board of directors. So you bring in people that will tell you the truth, that don't just give you lip service. And it's a group of friends, and you all hold each other accountable. It could be a group of friends, it could be a group of fellow entrepreneurs, but creating, again, the support system so that you're not doing it alone. It's really important.
I love that so much. I'm gonna steal that idea. And tell me, so in your journey, like you've had people who have been there for you. What is the best advice that someone's given you in your journey that you can share?
Oh, the best advice. I would say really the most liberating best advice is to be myself, to trust myself. It can be incredibly difficult, and you touched on that in terms of listening to yourself. Those intuitive kind of touches, I think, are really important to listen to, and the more you listen to them, the more they speak to you, and the more things start coming your way. So I would say that that's something that's been really important. Another thing that a mentor told me is when you are looking for people to be on your team, look for those, how he said it is, look for those that offer you the last piece of their pie, right? Like the last piece that's like sitting at the table. Look for those who are generous, that are wanting to give, and hopefully it becomes a reciprocal giving, and that that you're building towards something, that you giving is giving to the whole.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think it's often very difficult to build if you're not all, energy exchanging in the right way, and So when you had to do the work to trust yourself, what did you find was the most kind of practical ways? Like often we have these doubts that come up, right? And I know for me, it's having like a long internal conversation where I keep having to soothe myself in a way and say like, it's going to be okay, I have faith. Look at where you were, look at where you are now, and reminding yourself of kind of small increments of trust. Like if you want to get to a big mountain, then at least do a little something small to keep building up to that point. That's been really helpful for me. I don't know if it's similar for you.
Yeah, it very much so. I would say the advice that I would give on that side is, because it is hard and it is building, is to check in when you do feel that, like, two pieces. One is take a moment and like just pause. Catch that pause to reflect. Check in with your head, check in with your heart, check in with your intuition. Are they all aligned, or are they potentially, are some of them saying one thing and some saying another? And if that's the case, how do you get them in alignment? And then look at everything all the way around so that you can make an accountable choice. Because I would say that there's no right choice and there's no wrong choice. Everything can lead to different outcomes, and it's just a matter of taking into account all of the different pieces that you're weighing and the potential impacts so that you can be accountable. So when you make that choice and something goes, let's say, right, or something even goes wrong, that it's something that you chose, that you're accountable for, that it's not, if something went wrong, you're not a victim. If something went right, you fully chose that and you can own that. So I would say really like taking into account all the aspects and making that choice and making sure you're fully in alignment, pausing, checking those different places, your head, your brain, your heart, your emotions, and your gut, your intuition, and make sure that you can get them all in alignment so that you can make an accountable choice.
Oh, that's amazing advice. Thank you. I have to remind myself of that often. So for everyone listening out there, I mean, being human is like an everyday thing, right? It's a journey. So yeah, it's never perfect.
Yeah, and to give yourself patience too with that. Like, don't expect perfection.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, I think that's the hardest part is we're also critical of ourselves, and having that grace with yourself is so, so important. So it's kind of a balance between grace and accountability, I find, it's we sometimes sway between one or the other where we kind of really let go and we're like, oh, life's against you. But I'm curious, I mean, maybe this is a silly question to ask you, but a year from now, where do you see yourself? I mean, you're busy with so many things. Also, I know you're also a mom, like, how do you juggle everything, and what can we celebrate for you in a year from now?
Yeah, well, my daughter's now in college, so the mom part, I mean, I'm always a mom, right? I'm always momming, but yeah, being a mom and running my business is, has been a difficult challenge for sure. A year from now, it's an interesting question in this moment because right now there is so much up in the air and so many possibilities that I don't know. I would say my goal with my nonprofit is to hand it over to somebody to run because I'm a creator, being very clear on who I am. I'm great at creating things, and I also am not the operations and management. So that I'm at a place with the nonprofit where I want to hand it over. I'm talking to Teach for America and like some other organizations about how we can either partner or potentially merge, or how I've got a wonderful human who I adore who is currently on the nonprofit Grow. The name of the nonprofit is Grow My Future, on Grow's team, and so hopefully she'll be able to take it over. And to those founders, I would say, know what it is, what you're good at, and when it's time to bring in other people. Zero shame in that. Own what you're good at and delegate what you're not good at. And so I'm owning that I love to be creative and that I don't want to do operations, and I'm perfectly fine handing it over. So there's that. The guidebook, which is really super practical, like it's like a workbook basically, where you write in it and you look at like all the different parts of who you are, trying to show you like a so it's like it's like one of those. It's so funny. I'm like pulling to the areas where there's writing, but the majority of this it's doing, not writing, because you can't read about who you are. So really looking at getting that into more places where it can be used as in a group setting. So whether that's in a corporate setting or in universities, military transitioning to civilian life, nonprofits as well. Like there's lots of different places for it. So expanding that. And then working on what's next. And the what's next, it might be the app that I'm developing. It might end up being something different. Like I said, right now I'm kind of in this like, okay, like what's happening? And going back to talking to the serendipity and listening to intuitively what is supposed to happen next, I'm in that moment of pause where I'm like, it's not, can I just say, like, pause is not an inactive thing either. Pause is very active, right? It's like I'm pausing to listen. I'm still taking steps, but I'm listening. So it's this interesting thing where we think of pause as like, oh, stop everything. No, pause is actually active. So I'm in the active pause.
I really love that. I agree. I think sometimes society tells us that silence and pause and, not doing anything seems so wrong. But some of the greatest discoveries came from that. I mean, sitting under the tree and the apple falls down and all of a sudden gravity is discovered or whatever it might be, but came from a moment of reflection and giving yourself the space to maybe, let's say, channel what is next for you, and feel the nudges in your heart. So, well, I'm very excited for you for the next chapter and to see where that all goes. And as much as we can support that from the feel side, we can and will, absolutely. And on the topic of pause, I actually want to say we're not pressing pause on this podcast yet, but the option is there. And it's a big, big thank you to Riverside, who we record on, but also our partners, rss.com, who help us put this podcast out into the world. So we want to take a quick moment to say thank you to them. They've been so generous in offering us and also our audience wonderful treats in terms of partnership, but also discounts. So if you want to check out rss.com, you want to launch your podcast, you can get some discounts via the fields. You can DM us on the socials for that. And then also our latest partner is Bomb Company, who also known as Blender Bombs, who is in the US. And I do know they ship internationally as well, and we've partnered with them, so you can get a discount on anything that you buy from Bomb Company with the code TheFeels, and you get an amazing 20% discount on anything that you buy. So very nutritious snacks. I do miss them. I need to order my next Bomb Company Blender Bombs. Thank you so much to our partners. And then I want to quickly move into a segment that we always do, Nicole. It's we call it the people, places, and spaces. And it's a shout out to a person or a place that we experienced in this week that we feel have the feels. So I want to give a shout out to a place called 59 Rivoli. It's here in Paris, and my team member Ashley actually went there this week, and they have a beautiful space where they help people who are struggling in life, and some are homeless, some are just really battling, but they're artists. And they exhibit their work, and you can go there and chat to them, and they help them earn from their work. And it's just, it's a beautiful, beautiful space. We love your feels. Thanks for what you do in the world. And I'm excited to go visit that next week as well. And then our almost last segment is what we call the gems. And this is something that happened in your week. So I'll start. And for me, my gem this week was... what I learned was to have grace with myself. Like we were talking about now, it's winter, it's cold, so much has been happening on all the different ventures, and I've overslept so many times. I've had some late nights too, but I've really just have to understand that my body can only go so far in certain things, and kind of lead myself with love and others around me. And a second gem was really also to embrace a section of my life, a chapter of my life now, that I can say to myself that I'm safe to be loved by myself and by others. It's been quite a journey in my own way in that sense, and it's been such a revelation this week that I can be open to that. So those are really two big gems for me this week. How about for you?
Yeah, I'll get real personal here. I've been really looking at different dynamics when it comes to people that I've met and friendships, and kind of evaluating how I'm interacting. As you know, I've been part-time living in Paris and part-time here in San Francisco in the Bay Area. And in Paris, I feel like I've been super social and kind of out of body, to be honest, because I've been trying, like, okay, who's my friend group? Who are my people? And then I come to the Bay Area and I have my people and I'm so solid and it feels so good. And I'm really examining the gem that I would say is, one, really knowing like there's certain people who are for us and there's certain people who are not for us. And having patience in Paris to find those people who are going to be my people, and having grace with people who may not necessarily be my people, and understanding that human dynamics are complex. And yeah, my best friend, she said something. She said, you know, the people that really truly know you know how wonderful you are, and those who may, because there's been one dynamic that's been first time in a long time that has been very difficult. And so with that situation, she's like, just own who you are, know that you're loved, know that if she really knew you, that she would love you, and that you have choice, and to own that. And that has been a big gem for me. I think that's so important, and to allow people to be where they're at and allow myself to be where I am at, and to accept that some people are my people and some people aren't my people.
Yeah, it's so important. And it's really difficult when you're traveling and when you make jumps between countries and try find your space, right? And it's also, I find, when you go to different spaces in the world, there's different energy and you learn something new about yourself. You become different in a way too, but you have to kind of work with that and figure out what that is and what is that groundedness for you in that energy. So I think that's such an important one, and I'm glad that you can own that and know that you are loved, you know, every single one of us. And for everyone listening out there, know that you are loved, know that you have your passion, your purpose, your flow, your path. And I wonder what everyone is feeling about, you know, what your pattern is that's presenting for yourself. And if it's okay for you to pivot and find, you know, your flow in the world. So very, very last segment, Nicole, and then I'm going to let you be back and doing all the amazing things that you do in the world, is we have a reading list called The Stack. And I definitely want to put your book on the stack, so we'll do that. But I want to ask you, what is one book that you can recommend? Maybe it's that you've read or that you want to read or that's still sitting on the stack there for you, to our audience.
Yeah, I'm in this interesting place where I'm really looking and examining money and the energetics behind money. There's a great book called The Psychology of Money that is fascinating. And then Lynn Twist wrote The Soul of Money. And I feel like the two combined is very interesting perspectives. So I highly recommend those two books.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. I'm also fascinated by money and energy exchange and what is money really. We did a whole section in season 2, was it season 1? Gosh, I can't even remember anymore, on money positivity and the concept around money. And yeah, so I remember Lynn, I really want to read that book, and I would love to also have a conversation with her. So thank you for that recommendation for those. We'll add them to the stack. And for anyone who's looking for book recommendations, you can navigate to our website, thefields.space, and find some recommendations from the podcast on there. And then I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to you for coming on, for sharing your heart and your journey, your story, your advice, and yeah, just so openly. I really, really appreciate it.
With pleasure, with absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me. And thank you to the listeners, too, for taking the time to listen and to elevate yourselves in this moment. Don't wait. Don't wait. Do it now. Mm-hmm. There's no time like the future, or like the present, to build for your
It's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah. What is time? A construct of our imagination.
That's right.
Oh, thanks so much, Nicole. We'll chat soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Nicole.
If you haven't just yet, follow Friday Feels on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. You can share with us all your feels this week by tagging us at fridayfeels.co. And you can also find the website at that handle. And now, as you ease into this weekend, take a moment. Celebrate who you've become, what you've overcome, and what is yet to come as you do the crazy and cool things that you do as the authentic you. You know, the truth about life and work is that it's hard, but the beauty is this global working experience that you're in, well, we earn it together. So keep connecting, empowering, and inspiring this week. And of course, keep it raw and real. Until next time.